interviewing Nelson Denis. I don't know. It's like I've never done an interview before. It's like we're gonna ask you some questions, Nelson.
Sure.
Okay. My first question is like, what do you have a favorite study in education?
A favorite way that I study?
Yeah, like a favorite form in education, like history. Like, are you interested in history?
It changes. For a while, it was science and physics, and the interaction of physics and religion, almost in a sort of a new age. When my mom passed away 7 or 8 years ago, I just read feverishly dozens of books. History has an endless fascination because there's always loops and little subtexts and little connections that you didn't expect. And if it happens to be a personal history, as my writing this book, War Against All Puerto Ricans, I had family members that knew Stump-for, and also I had some very direct sources of information, the FBI files that were declassified just a few years ago. So to have thousands of those pages, plus the story from my family, made it very personal. So that kind of history.
I've read about a summary of your book, and it explains the main character of Albizu Campus and who he is. Now tell me, why was he imprisoned in the first place?
That's let me ask you a question, and it's an honest question. How long should these answers be? A minute, half a minute, or what do you need?
Because 10 minutes.
For each question?
No, each question 3 minutes.
Like a minute? Okay. Because that's a great question, and there's levels of meaning to it. He was technically in jail for the same thing that Oscar Lopez Rivera is in jail for right now. Oscar Lopez Rivera is the longest-standing political prisoner in the United States. He's been in jail for 34 years for allegedly committing seditious conspiracy against the United States to overthrow the government. That you can draw a truck to that language. When I speak today, I will technically be engaging in seditious conspiracy. That was what they ended up on. First of all, they circumvented double jeopardy by having 2 trials, and it's unclear how you can have 2 trials for the same matter when you had the hung jury for the first trial. They tried to get him on allegations of violence and weapons possession, instigating people to riot, inciting to riot. That wasn't the case. What he finally went to jail for was supposedly conspiring to overthrow the United States. But the real reason that he came under the gun was because he headed an island-wide agricultural strike in 1934 and 35 that resulted in doubling the sugarcane workers' wages from 7.5 cents an hour to 15 cents an hour, $1.50 for 10-hour work. So $1.50 times 5, $7.50, and if they work 6 days, or $9 a week. That doesn't seem like much, but it was a difference between starving and not. A lot of families in Puerto Rico and Wall Street, the same ones that have these hedge funds that are Puerto Rico's dead, that are looking right now to grab up pieces of Puerto Rico, those same sort of Wall Street interests were the ones that deeply resented Albizu Campos leading this island-wide agricultural strike. And it was them that was behind Albizu Campos' jail. In my experience, politics is generally a conflict of interests disguised as a conflict of principles.
Nailin,
The title of the name, the title, the title of the book,
the United States,
the title of the book. That Albizu Campos had won this strike and had cost them money. And my firm belief that that's why he went to jail for 25 years, because the United States did not want to financially afford someone like Albizu Campos hurting them in the pocket.
My second question, my father requested this. Will you please explain to the audience who you are?
Me? You see the kind of questions I have? Yes, these existential questions with multiple layers. Unfortunately, you asked a question that I'm utterly incapable of answering. I guess I'm a work in progress. I'm a lawyer, and I was in politics for 4 years. I served in the New York State Assembly. My father, part of what got me interested and curious about politics was the fact that my father was deported by the FBI. In a sense, science has always been trying to answer that question, why that had to happen to me. So I'm just a curious person that studied a lot and that made a decision that there was a piece of knowledge, a little piece that had to do with my history that hadn't been told. And so I've had the honor of putting a book on the bookshelf that I think belonged there, that I didn't see, and now we have it.
Okay, second question. So the book explained the relationship between Puerto Rico and the U.S. So how do you feel about the modern relationship?
Pretty much a direct line. It's a continuum. We've had 117 years of an unbroken colonial relationship, and the United States has basically taken away Puerto Rico's legs and replaced it with a series of crutches ever since. That never worked. There's been a red carpet stretching from Wall Street to San Juan. They have these 20-year tax abatement deals for foreign corporations to come in and offer employment. When the tax abatement period expires, the companies leave, and it's just the unemployment gets worse. There's a Jones Act, Section 27 of the Merchant Marine Act, 1920, which stipulates that Puerto Rico cannot have its own shipping industry, and which creates an artificial price control for all American products. Puerto Ricans pay 15 to 20% more for all consumer products because of the Jones Act. That derives specifically, directly from this colonial relationship. So when they say that Puerto Rico owes $73 billion, you have to. President Harry Truman said there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. Well, these statistics are being presented in a disingenuous fashion. When they say that Puerto Rico owes $73 billion, it's because there is no domestic economy to begin with. The United States is almost guaranteed that government, public sector employment would be the only employment available. So naturally, you're going to be having to subsidize and pay for that government. If it weren't for the Jones Act, Puerto Ricans are paying $6 to $7 billion a year more for products, especially American products. About 80% of what's consumed in Puerto Rico is American products, at a level of $6 to $7 billion higher per year than they should be paying. And if you multiply that by the 95 years of the existence of the Jones Act, that's $570 billion. You would have paid this public debt 7 times over. If it weren't for the Jones Act, this public debt wouldn't exist. So that gives you an example of a colonial relationship that exists. The U.S. Congress has plenary jurisdiction over any law that's passed by the Puerto Rican legislature. The Puerto Rican economy, the Puerto Rican government is completely infiltrated by the United States. And just this week, the Puerto Rican legislature is being pushed into accepting a 5-member financial control board that's going to be an additional layer of oversight and basically a shadow government over Puerto Rico. That's happening right now. So the things that I talked about earlier and that are in this book is a continuing history. It hasn't changed. It's a little more subtle now. They don't do it on the point of a gun. They do it with a law, an attaché case, a credit default swap financial instrument, a 5-member financial control board. But it's the same thing. It's a huge imposing power in exerting its will over a small island and basically doing whatever they want. And that's what they're doing. They're gentrifying Puerto Rico, turning it and Disneyfying the whole island. The way Times Square looks now, you saw the movie Blade Runner. I don't know if you saw that science fiction movie, Blade Runner. Well, it doesn't matter. If you look at Times Square right now, that's an indicator. That's what happens when you have unbridled capitalism run amok, and that's what they're hoping Puerto Rico doesn't become. Just one big Disney park for people to go take vacations in. Hopefully, there's enough awareness from people like me that we can slow this process down.
You have another question?
I got my third question. What interests you to write your book?
What? Sorry?
What interests you to write your book?
When the FBI files, there was a carpetas program of secret police surveillance of over 100,000 Puerto Ricans, over 100,000 for 6 decades. But it was secret. People didn't know of the existence of these files, and it was over 1.8 million pages. They were declassified in the year 2000. Congressman Serrano forced FBI Director Louis Freeh to release these documents. When I started reading some of them, is when I saw that there was some very real, palpable stories, events, dynamics operating in Puerto Rican